Nigeria's dairy sector is significantly large in demand. From sources made available, Nigerians consume more than 1 billion liters of milk or any dairy equivalent annually.
That's quite some milk there. And some breakfast tables are never complete without milk because vitality and nourishment is uppermost on their minds.
From supporting bone health to growth and boosting immune system, milk is crucial for both the children and adults. That is why it never goes out of style.
And in recognition of its essence, milk is celebrated globally as a product of relevance every June 1st.
But beyond the campaigns is the sustainable farming practices in the dairy value chain, where farmers, processors, workers, and marketers are leaving their footprints.
Yeah, footprints for the Nigerian government. There is a much greater commitment to the cause of transforming the dairy sector.
It is aligning with women farmers and the role they play in feeding families, sustaining livelihoods, and strengthening food systems.
But the underdeveloped domestic production of dairy in Nigeria is a major concern, with reportedly about 700,000 tons a year. Struggles of poor infrastructure, outdated practices, and conflict over land and resources are major challenges as a vibrant contributor to the agricultural landscape and economic future of our country.
And that is why the 2026 Global Campaign on Dairy Consumption is highlighting the vital roles of women in sustainable agriculture, food security, and nutrition. This is our focus today on Good Morning Nigeria, the first for the month of June 2026.
And the first for the week.
The first for the week. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And the supply gap is evident, with about 60% of Nigeria's consumption met through imports. Recall in 2024, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu inaugurated a presidential committee of implementation of livestock reform to address obstacles in agricultural productivity. Now, how has that played out with the dairy sector in particular? Well, answers our guest will answer. I am Juma Yusuf. We are reaching you live from the nation's capital on the network service of the NTA.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Just before we bring in our panel of guests for World Milk Day 2026, let's take this background report put together by Timothy Yusuf.
World Milk Day 2026 puts women dairy farmers at the center, linking them to nutrition, food security, and sustainability. Findings show that the day is celebrated in more than 100 countries on every June 1st. Key pillars of this year's theme, celebrating women farmers, include women empowerment, economic inclusion, sustainable dairy farming, nutrition awareness, as well as rural development. For women farmers, milk and nutrition go hand in hand, from handling animal care, milking, feeding, fodder management, clean milk production, and value-added products like yogurt. Women are becoming relevant. Many are of the opinion that women's work in dairy directly strengthens family nutrition security. It's also believed that dairy supports livelihoods of millions of farming families, as women's role boosts household incomes. The federal government says women dairy farmers are indispensable to the resilience and productivity of livestock sector. Analysts note that World Milk Day 2026 isn't just about drinking milk, but about who produces it. How can supporting women dairy farmers drive sustainable nutrition, rural incomes, and food security? Over now to our guest on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Timothy Yusuf, for the background report. And now seated here in the studio is Honorable Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Mukhtar Meha. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Same to you.
It's a pleasure to join you. And also have Mrs. Edele Ogusayan. She's the Senior Corporate Affairs and Communications Manager, Ala Food. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
I hope I
having
got
me.
that on Arda.
Yes, Arla Foods.
Arda
Thank
food.
you.
Okay, that's great. You're welcome.
All right. Also here is Mr. Babatunde Adedokun. He's the head dairy development Frischland campaign, Wamco Nigeria PLC. Mr. Adedokun, it's good to have you join us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, we have in the studio Mr. Joel Ariori, Executive Director, Integrated Dairies Limited. He is here. Mr. Ariori, good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's good to have us, have you join us, gentlemen and lady, on this very, very important program. Milk is very important for health. I always thought that it's just for children and not when you grow up.
Health and
That-
vitality.
Yes, health and vitality. So, Honorable Mr. Let's begin with you. Can you sort of lay the foundation? We're celebrating World Milk Day today with emphasis on women's contribution to this sector. So, can you tell us a little bit about the importance of dairy products for humans?
Thank you. 1st of June of every year has been set aside by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to celebrate milk. It's one of the basic foods, and to also reflect on the journey so far. If you look at actually, milk is the first food every mammal starts with, including human beings. And by this I mean young people, young animals start off with milk. And that is a wholesome food system created by nature through mothers, mothering, and motherhood. So the first contact any newborn gets with this world is through the mother's milk. It is wholesome, ready. It doesn't need any other addition. And milk contains all the nutritional values that any biological system requires to survive. And therefore, the Food and Agriculture Organization realizes this importance milk plays in the life of mammals and human beings in particular, and decided to set that date, 1st June 2001. That's when the date it was started celebrating it, and Nigeria joined much later. However, as of today, more than 180 countries are celebrating the World Milk Day. It is also very significant to know that of all animals, including human beings, it is only Homo sapiens, that is you and I, that drink milk after infancy. In our adulthoods, we still need milk. Adult cows don't drink milk. Grown-up goats and sheep don't drink milk. After they are weaned, then they move over to fiber and other things. But you and I, we still need milk. And that's why we're playing so much emphasis on its production. We're talking about dairy development. We're talking about balanced nutrition. We're talking about developing rural economy. We are also talking about making milk available for our young children so that they have complete mental and aptitudinal development. We're talking about stunted children here and there. So the celebration in Nigeria, when we started, was spearheaded by a development partner called Sahel Consulting. Later on, Kodaran, that is Commercial Dairy Association of Nigeria, came in, and then a lot of other players, today, as it were, in the dairy landscape in Nigeria, have joined in, and with the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development, today it has become merrier that government is actually participating very, very consciously in the celebration of the World Milk Day, to raise consciousness and reflect on the journey so far. Where are we as a nation, as a people, in terms of getting sufficient milk production for the country to meet national demand? What are the challenges? What are the policies? And who are the players? Can we sit down and listen to ourselves and find out, in this journey, where does it pain? What are our strengths? what are our weaknesses. And that's why the World Milk Day provides a forum for people to get together, to ventilate ideas. And it is out of this World Milk Day celebration that a number of positive ideas have been generated. For instance, it is out of that that we came out with the National Dairy Policy that was approved by the federal government, and then the ministry today has also come up with the implementation framework that's going to be launched later today. Now, all this got aggregated as a result of convening all these like minds, ideas, participants, big, medium, and small, on the platform of the World Milk Day to come up with ideas to assist the country and Nigeria, as it were, to advance local dairy production to meet national demand.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I mean, we can, from what you have said, you have pinpoint the effort of government to make sure that we have this milk production in abundance in this country. But let's go to the specifics now. I want you to tell us what specific policies is the ministry implementing to ensure women dairy farmers have access to land, credit and extension services for sustainable milk production, because it's one of the major chain that we need to boost, milk production in the country.
Thank you. If you look at the ownership of today, the bulk of the animal resources in the country are in the private hands. More than 85% are under pastoral holding system. However, there is an emerging trend of producers who are engaged in backward integration. Many of the players you have today under this conversation, they are actively engaged in backward integration. And that means that they are cultivating farmer outgrower scheme. And basically, if you look at the sociology of ownership, livestock ownership, and the ownership of livestock products, particularly milk in this country, milk belongs to women. Even if the cows belong to the men, they will have nothing to do with milk. It is actually transferred to the women. And that is where the crux lies. Now, these people who are involved in backward integration have been doing so much today to build the capacity of the woman local milk producer in terms of one, capacity building, in terms of also access to merit genetics, as well as also animal health services. But the issue about land is something that's very, very basic. However, because of the nature of animal husbandry, migratory, transhumance, we are now trying to address sedentarization. And by sedentarization, we are also working with those local producers to ensure.
When you say sedentarization, what do you mean by that?
Sedentarization means that rather than moving from point A to point B based on seasons, you remain in one area with your animals. We know where you are, we know who you are. Then from there, we can now begin to talk about improvement of one, access to land. Number two, access to feed and fodder, access to water, access to health, as well also improvement in the genetic content of your animal, so that you leapfrog from 1 or 2 liters to 10, 7, 15, 20 liters per day per cow. So that is what we are aiming at. But at the same time also, we are coming up with a program that we call Presidential Initiative of Youth and Women in Livestock. Now, the component that affects women here, we are actually bent on the feminization of livestock value chain in this country. And we are studying templates, as it were, from other countries, to now begin to seed women to get into the homestead dairy production. For instance, we take maybe 10, 20, 30, whatever number of women as a pilot. We give them high-grade animals. They are somewhere living with them in the same compound. And these animals are being taken care of by the women. You don't have to have a large pasture field for that. You can buy your grasses, you can give them farm residue, you can give them food residue, and then you milk. Now, if a cow is giving you 30 liters per day, that means that woman has access to 60 liters per day. And at the end of the day, all these women will be clustered, and then an off-taker will be appointed to buy off that milk on a daily basis, on cash and carry basis. So this is what we are looking at, and this is what we mean by the feminization of livestock, particularly dairy production in Nigeria. And that's why we chose this theme today, celebrating the woman dairy farmer. Because we are focusing, we know the important role they play is very critical, is very fundamental, and going forward is going to be one of the strongest pillars that we believe, will increase the volumes of production in this country, and also improve on the nutritional value, the nutrition of the family. Because once milk is being produced at the family level, if you are producing maybe 8 liters, 100 liters, 1 or 2 liters for the children, it's part of the game. That's what we are looking at. And that is what the ministry is talking about today. We are also talking about with development finance companies in the country to make access to credit for the women. Because what people don't realize is that the gestation for the cow is 9 months. And if you give me a loan today and you come back after 1 year, the cow is still pregnant. So the whole idea, we want these terms to, to conform to the reproductive zones of these animals. You give me a loan, soft terms, single digits, as a woman, I buy a high degree pedigree cow, the cow is pregnant, I pay for artificial insemination, I buy fodder, I don't have to go into further production. We can create an ecosystem where other women, other youths are engaged in feed and fodder production so that you can buy. So that's what we are talking about. And we believe this is one way of improving on local dairy development and production in the country.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister, for your opening comment. You sort of shed light on some areas. Now, let's bring in the woman who is the focus today.
The woman producer.
Yes, the women are the focus today on as we celebrate World Milk Day. What's the story like? How is the journey like? And how easy is it for women to venture into this business?
Thank you for that question. So, for the Nigerian female farmer, there are challenges. It's not that easy, as the Honorable Minister already mentioned. There are, for example, challenges when it comes to access to land, access to financing. And then the women are typically the ones who handle the milk, milk production. And they're also juggling it with household duties, caring for the family. At the same time, you're taking care of, the milk production at the farm. So sometimes these are challenges that come up. Also, skills, So at Ala Foods, for example, we ensure that through our local dairy development efforts, we train also women, not just male farmers, and we try to bring the training to them so that they don't have to travel far, because it's difficult to leave the home for a whole day. So we come to the rural communities and then we also train. So, so we make sure that they are equipped with skills, capacity building, and apart from that, I think a lot of empowerment needs to be given to women in the country, not just by the government, also the private sector. How can we all play our part so that we develop the dairy value chain along the line? So yes, there are a lot of women venturing into farming. There is a lot of room, especially the dairy sector. There's a lot of room for development. But we need to support more, because it's difficult sometimes juggling these things, like I said.
What about the interests of women?
I think we can do more to raise interest. So for example, at Arla Foods, we have a farm, a state-of-the-art farm in Kaduna. We offer internships to students, particularly women, because we want to encourage younger people to find dairy farming exciting. We want them to understand it's a business, Gone are the days you just think, oh, farming is this, farming is that. It is a business. There's money to be made. There's a lot to be developed in the sector. So we try to also go to schools, open up our farms so that they come and see what it could look like firsthand. So I think we can still do a lot in terms of getting interest, building interest up. Many want to come in, but they think there are barriers. They think of insecurity. They think of, oh, do I have to go all the way to the north, or where there's farmland? But I think there are a lot of opportunities along the dairy value chain. It could be in terms of distribution. It could be in terms of transportation. cold chain, there's a lot of opportunity for women. So I think with the right empowerment, with the right encouragement, we'll have more participating in the sector.
Specifically, what do you do, in your company to actually integrate the women and also empower them in your scheme?
Okay, so at the Ala Dairy Farm, we have a lot of female employees because the women are the ones who take care of the calves especially. They milk and they also feed the little calves. So we have a lot of female staff. Ala generally is a very inclusive organization. As you can see, I'm a woman here representing my organization today. So we make sure, first of all, the amount of people we hire, there's a good quota of women. And then, like I said, we also make sure we educate the women in the surrounding rural communities where our farm is. We carry them along. We make sure they play a part because we know that when women are empowered, the community becomes stronger, the stronger livelihood and sustainable development of the community.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Babatunde now, Adidoko. Tell us, Frischland campaign or WAMCO has been running for years. So tell us, what lessons have you learned about works for women dairy farmers specifically?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. As a business, Frischland Campaign, when we talk about backward integration, for over 15 years, we've started backward integration, even when federal government, when they have not even started talking about, this backward integration, because we believe that is what can actually sustain a nation, especially like a nation like our country, Nigeria. So basically, when you look at what we have done, we started very small, and we identify, these farmers, and we use what we call ABC model. And what is ABC in organizational behavior management? A, stands for antecedents. Antecedent is what actually triggers a behavior, because everything in life is about mindset, is about behavior. And how do I mean? Over time, a lot of farmers, a lot of women, they believe they just raise the animal and they sell for beef. But we move dairy closer to them. That, you can make a lot of money, from this dairy business. They say, no, they have to raise their animals, they have to sell, because that was the culture. As time goes on, we started, changing their mindset. That's why I said in organizational behavior management, ABC is very key. Antecedent is what triggers the behavior, is what sets motion for the behavior. And what is that antecedent? It triggers the behavior in the sense that, for instance, you need to be able to see that, if I have the milk now, somebody will uptake. So we guarantee that uptake. And by so doing, gradually, all of them are trying to see, value addition in that. And before you know what's happening, they are copying that particular behavior from other farmers who are actually, patronizing us. And I can tell you, we started, very small, like I said. I can tell you now, we have over 30 milk collection centers, because what we do is to decentralize our milk collections. We move, this cold chain closer to our farmers, so that in one way or the other, they can be able to have a very good quality milk, because if the milk is not good, we will not collect it as a business, because it's not so. And before we do that, we built their capacity. We train them on different aspects of dairy value chain. Is it in terms of feed conservation, animal, rearing, in terms of breed improvement, then also in terms of pasture development. We train. In fact, I have a community now that is led by a woman in Oyo State, and they are giving us over 500 liters per day. That's a lot of money.
That's huge. Huh?
Yeah, that's huge. Every blessed day, they are giving us over 500 liters of milk, and it's led by a woman. And we identify them. So we develop them. We train them on different aspects of, dairy value chain, like I've said, most especially on hygiene, And I said ABC the other time. I mentioned antecedent. The other one is behavior. For anybody to demonstrate any behavior, something must trigger that behavior. And what triggers that behavior is antecedent. But for the behavior to continue, there must be a consequence, either positive or negative. But we choose that of positive consequence. We reinforce their behavior by paying them daily. We make sure that we pay them every day. Not only that, we also reinforce good quality, when I say reinforcement, I mean positive reinforcement. We reinforce their behavior, you know, in terms of milk quality. But if your milk is not good, we give you negative consequence.
How do you test the milk to know which one is good and not good?
Okay, so we have a mini laboratory in all our milk collection centers, and we have a quality officers who actually ensure that milk is tested for adulteration. Okay. You know, some people want to play game. They may want to add water so that their milk volume can, you know, increase. We detect that. We do alcohol tests. We do what we call resassuring tests. In fact, currently we have digitalized our milk collection center. So we have equipment that we test, and then we also see it themselves. The water content, even the protein, we check all this before we actually, you know, collect the milk from our farmer. If it's not good, we will tell them, sorry, perhaps you bring the milk very late, because temperature is also a very, you know, contributing factor that can actually make the milk, you know, not too good for consumption. So if you bring the milk very late, we have the time we collect the milk, and you have
so you create all this awareness. Educate them on this.
Of course, that is why I just trained over 15 community livestock workers, including women. I camp them. Sorry, my company camped them. For when I say I am trying to personalize for the passion for the business. So we camp them at you know, Federal you know, College of Animal Health, more plantation in Ibadan for good 10 days. You know, we house them, and just about last 2 weeks. So and including women, and we train them, because one thing, because we need to look at the sustainable development when you're talking about dairy. We need to look at, how do we take this further, and how do we ensure that people that are closer to the farmers are actually trained. And we identify these people at various communities, and we train them on different aspects of dairy value chain.
What about those who collect milk in the evening? You know, this poor evening milk collection, it affects the quality of the milk. So how do you assist the women?
All right,
in that instance?
Thank you very much for that question. It's a very good question. So what we did when we identified those who collect, especially some of our smallholder dairy farmers, so we have to empower them with what we call solar milk cooler, so that by the time they make their animal, they can be able to store the milk and we collect it the following day. So, and the milk will always be in good condition, because what is very important to make is that the moment you collect the milk, you need to make sure that you keep the temperature of that milk very low. And once that happens, of course, within less than 24 hours, so we have the milk, and we also put it in a cold chain, and we transport it to you know, our processing plant. As at yesterday, I collected over 34,000 liters of milk for the business. And only last month, this May, we have collected 808.
We're in June now.
I'm talking about last month, May. You know, we just ended May. My record was that I collected 808,000 kilograms of milk. Just in May.
Quite interesting now. Okay, Mr. Joe, let's talk about the value chain itself, the structure of milk production. You know, is Nigeria sort of doing enough to, as we are talking about it now? Are we going to work to talk, you know, develop a structured dairy value chain that is from farm to market? And we know the kind of challenges from farm to market that happens, storage, infrastructure and all that. Do we have enough?
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, I want to say happy World Milk Day, especially to our women dairy farmers. It's been great working with a lot of them over the years, and I believe we will continue in the great journey. The Honorable Minister have mentioned a lot of focus on dairy value chain in Nigeria. First of all, let me start by saying dairy is big. It starts from feed and fodder. If you don't have feed, you don't have fodder, then you cannot do dairy farming. 70% of the cost of dairy production is feed. So if the feed is resolved, then you can have good dairy management system. So, so feed, fodder is basic, and that is why a lot of attention is being paid to feed development in Nigeria. The second thing is you have your animals, you have to improve them, in terms of genetic improvement. At integrated dairies, this is what we have been doing for over 24 years. And I want to tell you that it is possible to have good dairy practices and with good milk production. For example, in the last 6 years, we started a program of inseminating our local cows. And these local cows, they usually give 1 to 2 liters of milk per day. Now we inseminate and we got F1, we got F2, and as at now we are on F3.
What does F1
that is,
do?
F1 is the first generation calf when you crossbreed with exotic breeds. So we do a lot of artificial inseminations and we get F1. Those F1 has improved breed and they can give more milk. So now, what does the milk quantity of the F1 that we experience in our own farm? First is we have some giving us between 10 and some giving us average of 15. So we have 10 to 15 liters per day from F1. Now the F2 generations that gave birth to F3, now we are having between 15 and 25. So you can see that we are transiting from the 1 to 2 liters to about 20 to 25 liters per day per cow, which is a very big improvement. So F3 now, in the next 2 years, we'll have what the Hiver will give us. Definitely we know that that one will be closer, much more closer to 30 and the rest. So it is possible. It's something that we believe in the country that dairy production evolution is possible. Okay. And with the way we are going with genetic improvements that we are doing, a lot of this will happen rapidly. We have a lot of smallholder dairy farmers that are working on that now. At Integrated Dairies, what we have also done is that we work with a lot of small dairy farmers. We have a lot of startup farms that we support. We support them with artificial insemination, breeding system, veterinary services, extension services. We support them with that. Also, we have a lot of existing farms that are not doing well that we are also supporting with our services. So we discovered that this dairy milk evolution in Nigeria is actually realistic, is possible. We just need to be consistent, we need to be intentional, and we need to drive it aggressively. Another thing we have done differently is that we started training with artificial insemination technicians. We started developing artificial insemination technicians. And to amaze you, just last year, with our development partners, Sahel Consulting, GIZ, we trained about 12 women on artificial insemination. They now do AI. They are part of our artificial insemination technicians. Women doing artificial insemination for cows.
So you're beginning to employ technology in this process now.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and that one is going great. We even have people that are. What we have done is that these women are not. They are not my staff, for example. They are seated in communities. Yeah. In communities. So that's another thing. One major important thing for dairy value chain is also cold chain. These products are transferred into yogurts, into milk, and it has to be transferred to preserve the nutrition quality of the milk to a cold chain facility. So that is also developing a bit in Nigeria. Thank God we have a solar system in place now. A lot of organizations are coming with solar systems, and then it's being developed. So across the value chain, There's a lot more work to be done, but we need to be consistent, we need to be intentional, and we need to drive it with passion.
We need to be consistent, we need to be intentional, and we need to drive it with passion. And also, you have talked about the value-added, aspect of it.
Yes.
We'll come back and talk more about that, but let's bring in the Honorable Minister again into this discussion. But let's look at the issue of which you mentioned slightly at the beginning of your, this discussion, the issue of infrastructure. When we talk about infrastructure, we're looking at the cold chain now and logistics, which remain a major barrier, especially for women in the rural, setting. What is the federal government doing to bridge, this gap from farm to market?
Thank you. Milk, as probably everybody is aware, has a very, very short shelf life, probably one of the shortest. The moment the milk comes out of the mama cow, you don't have practically more than 4 hours to maintain that specification. Otherwise, it begins to culture, it begins to deteriorate. And that's what we talk about post-harvest losses. For dairy farm, it is very, very colossal. And anyone here in this room will tell you that really, like he pointed out from our integrated dairies limited in Jos, feed and fodder is #1 factor that drives the dairy sector. The second one is that one needs to be very, very conscious about post-harvest losses. And therefore, whether you are in a large dairy farm like IDL or ALA or Freeland Campina or any other producer, your #1 concern is the immediate preservation of that milk, from milking to cooling tank. Whether you're going to process it now or later, that cooling tank should be able to contain, to preserve that meat at 4 degrees. At 4 degrees. And then you have enough time to do what you want to do to process it. But for rural areas, what we are working with those producers to make sure that where your plant, processing plant is, you must be conscious of the distance of the transportation of that milk. And in case you are not able to aggregate sufficient enough for your day's production capacity, then we work with you through LPRESS, Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support System. It's a World Bank project under the ministry that is doing a lot in terms of building milk chillers, solar-based milk chillers, depending on the production capacity of a local area. If you are doing 500, we can give you maybe 1,000 capacity, because depending on the season, your volumes can go up and can come down. The dry season, probably when animals have migrated away, your level will come down. But you still need to have that buffer zone in terms of, for instance, new arrivals, and then you have sufficient storage capacity to make sure that your post-harvest losses are 0. Secondly, we are also looking at the possibility now of leveraging on technology, where, for instance, there are tricycles today that are solar powered. They are also cold chain storage facilities, so that you don't even have to have a stationary storage facility. They can go around collecting the milk, recording what everyone has supplied, and then quickly they can now go back to base and then churn the milk out into a larger cooling tank and then preserve it. But we have recognized that there are challenges today in the country. #1, rural roads are not in good motorable condition. And that is why we need to have those cold chillers to preserve them there. Secondly, we have talked about the tricycle, solar power tricycle storage tanks that's also available. But again, part of what we're also looking at is to also build the capacity, for instance, of rural women. Of course, they have rudimentary knowledge of making yogurt, of making butter, of making cheese, etc., etc. These are also some forms of value addition. Today, if you go to many countries like India, like Kenya, Botswana, South Africa, you know, people based in rural areas, they still patronize women who do yogurt, who do mozzarella, who do cheese, who do butter. Number one factor here is that issue of hygienic milk handling. One, that capacity is embedded in them. And you can certify to a particular level that, look, the milking system is hygienic, transportation, storage, and handling are all hygienic. I feel confident that I can take my yogurt from these rural women. And what is left here is for us to get there, to build their capacity, to get into branding and then marketing. And this is what happens all over the place. Women who are into milk production, you don't have to just say, look, I have to sell off everything. If you are confident enough, you can get into yogurt making, maybe Greek yogurt, the normal yogurt in this country, sweetened, unsweetened. You can make your cheese, you can make your butter, you can make your cheddar, you can make your mozzarella. People can patronize you. And that's what we believe that we are focusing today on that woman. The issue is not just to produce the milk and sell. That is one form of it. But the next level here is to add value. And by value addition, you are getting more money. Depending on the solid content, I mean, the protein content, the solids, the fat content of that milk, you should be able to do the pasteurize, the cream, and then go into butter making and other products of the milk that can now be based in rural areas, and you can sell them. That's what we are talking about. We believe that that is the way to go. It's not only to turn the woman into just, look, milk the milk, I will take it off. That is also good, particularly if she's doing a lot of volumes. But we also want to take it to the next level. Look, add value, because you can create that local market. There are so many people today cannot tolerate milk. I personally have lactose intolerance. I know that I have it. But I can take cheese, I can take yogurt, I can take butter, and that is okay with my system. And we believe that's also one way of popularizing, democratizing milk products. Rather than just taking the fresh milk, I can take butter, I can take cheese, I can take that. That also gives you the same food value that you would when you take the fresh milk.
Yes, you have a choice on what to take.
That's right.
You know, when we talk about experience from other countries, you know, like India, United States, Pakistan, China, and all that, Kenya and South Africa that you've mentioned, they export this milk and, you know, the value added, you know, chains of the milk itself. And in Nigeria, we're importing at least $1.3 billion of milk every year. How are we going to break into that market where we export more than we import?
Yeah, I think, again, that is a challenge for other people. But for me and many people, probably many of the people who have to add together with us today on this program, that's an opportunity. Nigeria today is the biggest market in Africa. Let's put it roughly 240 million Nigerians. Still counting, and maybe some babies arrived this morning. They're welcome. There's an opportunity for us in this country, and when people talk about dairy, and before I continue, let's look at Allah. It's one of the biggest global players in dairy, and it's on record, and she can confirm that. The only farm Allah has in this world is in Nigeria. It is in Kaduna State, it is in Damau. Otherwise, they rely on cooperatives. And that's how Allah was started more than 130 years ago. They rely on farmer supply cooperatives. But they have decided to set up a farm in Nigeria. And today, Allah is doing more than 4,000 liters every day from 400 cows. That is a mark of confidence. That is a mark to say that, look, we are confident in this market, its policies, and the trajectory of the federal government under the able leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has created this ministry. And that is giving people the added confidence that, look, we can confidently go into Nigeria, the largest market, and they have that huge import bill of $1.5 billion. For me, that is not sustainable. We cannot continue. we are exporting our jobs. And that is why today Mr. President has seen it fit to create this ministry. And that's what today the ministry is redefining the narrative to create that enabling environment for the freelance campaigner, for the IDSs, for the ALA, for the Nestle of this world to feel confident and invest. And many other investors today are lined up in Nigeria. Okay. Now, talking about export, we have this huge market potential in Nigeria. Today, if you turn Usuma Dam into milk every day, you don't need to advertise. You'll find the market for it. We have 33 million primary school going children in this country that need milk. Should there be a policy that each of those children should take half a liter of milk? That is almost 17-point-something million liters every day for primary school alone. What market conditions better than this are we looking for? The export opportunities are there, but let us first nimble at that $1.5 billion and pocket it and plow it back internally. And that is the trajectory of this ministry. Today, as I'm talking to you, there are a large number of people, corporate organizations, who are now eyeing the dairy sector in Nigeria. Don't forget, quickly, when Mr. President made his state visit to the UK, Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority signed a loan with Green Asset of the UK for $496 million investment in dairy in this country. And we have had a meeting with Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. Practical steps on the ground to start investing that money in dairy in this country. We met with them in the office, and today a committee is working to make that happen. That project will create not less than 5,000 jobs in this country, both direct and indirect. And also one sure journey to close the gap in the national dairy supply system in this country. Today we import almost 700 million whatever metric tons that we import, translating to 1.5 billion dollars. So this is what we're talking about. So we are looking at this sector that there are huge opportunities. And let me tell you also, Nigeria is a monocultural economy. We rely on oil. But if you look at the job creation capacity of the oil and gas sector and dairy, I challenge anybody to go and look the calculation, to make the calculation. If you are sustainably producing 1,000 liters of milk every day, you are going to create between 35 to 75 jobs every day. 1,000 liters of milk on a daily basis. Look at the entire value chain my brother described, from feed and fodder, water, artificial insemination, health provision, milking, cooling, storage, processing, transportation, and marketing. 75 people every day just for 1,000 liters. Compare that with oil and gas. 1,000 liters of PMS. How many people are going to create? How many jobs are you going to create? So the opportunities are there in the livestock sector. And that is, I think, the vision of Mr. President. The quickest way to create jobs is in agriculture. And in agriculture, look at livestock. And in livestock, close in on the dairy sector. For beef, it is also there. I have the numbers, but that's subject for another day. Yeah. So the absorptive capacity, the job generation capacity, the catalytic effect of livestock sector is unimaginable. So therefore, we are not closing our eyes on the export market. We know we are surrounded by our neighbors who also depend on us. But we believe that when we are there, once we are talking about all these calculations, when we are talking to investors, we are saying, look, don't even look at the Nigerian market. Look at West Africa as your market. As I'm talking to you today, people from Niger, from Chad, are taking eggs out of this country into their country. So, and that tells you that we just need to sit down and make it happen. We are not bothered. We are not concerned about them. It's already there. the market is there. So the export potentials are there, but again, we have a huge internal market that we can depend on to satisfy.
Yeah, we have a huge market, actually, going by the population of this country. And probably, I mean, those that are being imported is just to supplement what we produce in here. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Let's bring in Madam now. Just like the Minister said, your company is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, dairy production company in this country. Let's look at, because the Minister mentioned, talked about the nutrition advocacy. What exactly is ALA doing, in promoting milk consumption as part of a sustainable diet for Nigerian families, especially those in the rural household?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy you asked me that question because I have a lot to share about what we are doing. So first of all, through our Dano products, our mission is to nourish Nigeria. And we are not just an organization that focuses on selling products. No, we are very much involved in nourishment, food security issues, educating Nigerians on the benefits of a healthy nutrition, a healthy dairy nutrition as part of a balanced diet. And very recently, actually on the 25th of May, we launched a consumer education campaign called the Choose Milk campaign. Okay. It is co-funded by the European Union and managed by the Danish Dairy Board. And the campaign is to create awareness on the nutritional benefits of real milk. It's to educate consumers on the alternatives in the market. There are a lot of products, dairy products, non-dairy products that look like milk, that are packaged by milk, but they have completely different nutritional elements in them. And to the unknowing average Nigerian, you go to shopping, you just pick a product from the shelf. You're nourishing your children. You think you're nourishing your children with these products, but they are not getting the nutrients from that product. Milk is naturally nutrient rich. It contains protein, calcium, vitamin B12, and essential vitamins. Now, many of these other products I'm talking about, they contain less than half of this, or the non-dairy creamer that contains absolutely no nutrients. It's just, I think, cornstarch, glucose, coloring, and the likes. Now, if you are informed, then you know what you're buying. Oh, I'm just buying this for texture and taste. But if you want to nourish a growing child or yourself as an adult, and you're buying a product that is not giving you the nourishment you need, then you are malnourished. And malnourished doesn't necessarily mean you're a slim child. There's something called the hidden hunger, which means you're eating, but you're not getting the right nutrition. In Nigeria, we are very prone to eat quantity over quality. We love our carbs. But this campaign is going to run nationwide for the next 3 years. We're working with the federal government as well on this, Ministry of Livestock Development, Ministry of Health, development partners. We're working with SO and NAFDAC because this collaboration is needed to get the kind of impact we want. And I'll give you some information that is quite alarming. So before we set out on this campaign, we did a baseline survey across 8 major cities in Nigeria. We interviewed over 2,000 women, and we established that these women have children between the ages of 3 and 16 in their homes. So we know that they buy products for these children. It will shock you to know that 71% of these respondents did not know that there is a difference between milk and creamers. And it would even shock you further to know that 10% of these respondents were not sure milk comes from cows. And 3% said milk do not come from cows. So we have a long way to go. Consumer education is so important. If people are empowered with knowledge, they make informed choices. And then they can ensure that they are nourishing their homes. And milk is so essential because it's not just about growing healthy. It gives you immunity. It makes your mind sharper. There are some studies that we're aware of that came out from Ghana. School kids, they were given milk every day. Then there was a control group that was given milk, I think, a few days a week. And then there was another group that was given milk, not given milk at all. And after a year, you could see the cognitive abilities of the children that were given milk was so high. Mathematics, they were excelling. The control group, they were doing okay as well, not as high. And then the group that were not given milk, it was obvious, So milk is so important. And what is sad is that many people do not know that there are these options, these alternatives in the market. And we shouldn't even call them alternatives really, because they are not alternatives, because there's no alternative to milk. Milk is a superfood. So this is one of the things we are working on very intensely at Arla Foods, consumer education.
All right.
Consumer education indeed is very, very...
It is important. It's vital.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, when you're buying, at times you see full cream, you see milk, it's sort of confusing.
Yes.
Then I sort of read an article recently and said that full cream is this, full cream, you know, there's one. But one question I need to ask is, let's bring you Mr. Dokule, is how... Yes, for diabetic people, we produce milk, and are there milk that diabetic people are not supposed to take, and milk that normal people take? I would like to know. Yeah. How do you produce it?
Yeah, all what I know is that we nourish Nigeria with quality dairy products. Yes. So, and I think the doctor should be able to actually advise better, you know, what to take and what not to take as a diabetic patient. So, but as far as we are concerned, so we have milk that is very rich, and that's what Elele just mentioned about you know, some dairy and non-dairy, you know, alternatives, which they are not actually alternatives. So basically, doctor should be, you know, in the best position to actually advise the patients, you know, what to take and not what to take. But as far as we are concerned, so our milk is of a very good quality and is good for consumption.
Let's look at the issue of quality now and that of pricing as well, because many women, especially, are not treated fairly when it comes to these issues, quality and, you know, pricing. So how do you ensure that women get fair, transparent pricing for their milk? And what incentives do your company exist for quality improvement?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question, because we don't joke when it comes to the area of quality. And one thing we have actually identified is people must have the right knowledge, because if you are not informed, you are deformed. So basically, what we first did was to train them, and training is a continuous one. We don't just stop, you know, there. So, for instance, if you bring a milk to us, your milk to us, and the milk is not good, so every day we collect a single liter of milk. Any milk that is rejected, we take the record as well. We don't just collect the milk, and we don't just reject the milk. And we investigate, we go to your community, we investigate, and we say, oh, why are you having maybe consistent, you know, bad quality? Is it that your hygiene is very poor? Is it that we need to train you on Huda management? So, or is it that your animals, because we check various parameters like I've rightly mentioned, even including antibiotics. So basically, what I can say there is that in terms of quality, so we train them on how to improve, you know, the quality of that, because I feel bad when you have purchased the milk or you have extracted the milk, you are bringing it to me and the milk is bad. I'm not always happy with that, and that is why we have to, you know, be deliberate to actually go to them and train them on a milk quality. In terms of pricing. Basically, when you're talking about pricing, I think Fiza Campaigner is, if not the best, one of the best in Nigeria.
Because the price of milk keeps going up. It's going way beyond the reach of the average Nigerian.
You know, when you say the price of milk is going, it's a lot of factors. It's not only the milk. When you collect the milk, a liter of milk, a lot of things, you know, is involved. Like Honorable Mr. has correctly mentioned, is it the logistics? Look at the cost of diesel now, look at the cost of AGO now, look at the cost of petrol, you know, overhead costs. Because you need to transport this milk. Okay, let me give you, you know, some examples. So, most of these farmers, apart from those ones that are modern farmers that live in the city, you know, some of them are in the rural core areas. You need transportation to bring it from that core area to the milk collection center. So after that, we have a coaching truck as well. We pick from our meat collection center, we transport to meat bulking center, and at every stage of this transportation, we check. Even when we get to the meat bulking center, we still do meat bulking tests before we transport to, our head office for processing. So even when they get there, they also do the rigorous quality test before we can say we want to process the meat. So in terms of pricing, I think we are the best. So now let me now tell you the incentives that we give. We have what you call different kind of incentives. Like I've said something the other time about ABC. And A means antecedent, B is a behavior, Y, C is a consequence. Now, and I said for every behavior, something triggers it. And for that behavior to stop or to continue, there must be a consequence. It's either a negative or a positive consequence. So, antecedent in the sense that when we first identified these women, they don't have anybody who was taking their milk. But when we started taking their milk, so it was that kind of antecedent, was transferred to other people to say, oh, they have been collecting milk. We have been having more, some, amount of money. We have been able to send our children to school. We have been able to build houses. Can I tell you, some of our farmers, in fact, they collect from our payroll 1 million naira every day. You will be surprised. I tell you, we have some farmers that are on 1 million naira every day. So it's a function of the number of liters that you bring to me. I pay you. And we have some youth that have been empowered. They have bikes. They move around this nook and cranny. They collect milk. So some give us as much as, I have a farmer that was collecting about 1.8 million
daily.
Daily. I'm serious. So now, we now introduce different kind of incentives. We have what you call cluster-based incentives. We have what you call individual incentives. We have, okay, guys, if you can meet this social target, we have this incentive for you. This is a bonus. Then you will be the one that will use your hand to actually get the incentives. So, and before you know what's happening, the production increases. They bring more milk to us, and they get more pay. Then we now realize that even some centers, they cannot meet up with that cluster incentives. We now base it on individual. Oh, you have 2 animals. If you can give me this also quantity of milk, you have 10 animals, then we are giving you this, amount of money. Apart from the milk price, we now incentivize them. That's what I mean by positive consequence and positive reinforcement that actually increase the, dopamine. Dopamine means that what keeps, your brain moving, that you want to actually get more, because they need money. Everybody is working to make the life.
To make money,
when
exactly.
they get the right price.
Exactly.
A right pricing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the bulk stops on the table of the consumer. Everything falls to the consumer. Mr. Ariel,
before we go on, take that. Earlier on, you were going to talk about the value addition, to these dairy. So tell us, beyond raw milk, what opportunities exist for women in probably yogurt, cheese, and other value-added products? Is IDL supportive in this?
Yes, thank you very much. I always like to tell the story of milk, the benefits in it. And because of the benefits, I always compare it to some things we know. For example, if you compare a glass of milk, which is maybe about 250 ml, to an egg, the benefits are enormous. Milk contains almost complete food. It's a complete food. 10 eggs is equivalent to that glass cup in terms of calcium.
You mean raw milk?
Milk, yes, a glass of milk. To have the same calcium content that is in a glass of milk, you need to take 10 eggs.
Wow.
It shows how rich
the milk
is. So now, in what ways can we explore consumption? And that is why the addition comes about. The Honorable Minister mentioned the other time that he can't take, some people are lactose intolerant, but when you form into different other products,
like yogurt and all that.
Yes, then they are able to take it. at Integrated Graries, definitely this is our core competence. We have not only for value addition, also for the development of the farmers. We have demo farms. We have different sessions where we train people, starting from feed and fodder to how to handle your dairy, and then to dairy production. Production, we mean yogurts. We do yogurts today. We do pasteurized milk. There are different components that we can add together to do yogurt. Greek yogurt is there. And Greek yogurt is, I mean, the other time you were asking about which of these can people take that, I mean, maybe you are diabetic, maybe you are this, you are that. So there are low-fat based products, because you can lower the fat content of the milk. Greek yogurt is an example.
I'm a fan of Greek yogurt.
Yes, actually. Yes. So, and at Farm Fresh, we really train people on how to make Greek yogurts. We support women because we have women communities that we follow after.
Mr. Orire,
yes.
we have to pause you here because we need to go for a break. When we come back, we'll talk more on this, because some of us are lactose intolerant, just like the minister. So we want to know more about this. Just hold on. So we'll take...
You're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. We've been discussing the International Milk Day and the significance and importance of women to that value chain of agriculture. Now, the minister is still seated here in the studio with our other guests, explaining to us how, you know, the process of, you know, getting milk and who should take and who shouldn't take. Well, we're going to get more education on that, because actually I'm in class this morning. Honorable Minister, we've seen how successful, you know, places like India, you know, are due to millions of smallholder farmers that are out there, and of course also the success of the dairy cooperative, you know, movement that is in India that is making it so successful. So how do you think, in a way, we can implement that process here in Nigeria and make these groups of women into cooperatives where they earn more, not just from the milk itself, where they can support each other?
Thank you very much. I think, again, the experience you are referring to here is a global South experience. And we are very much actually into taking some lessons from those countries. The White Revolution in India was spearheaded by Mr. Varghese, who actually spearheaded that transformation in India. We've studied that journey, we've studied the history, and we're trying to also to look at what is also happening aside from India. How did other countries also embark on their own dairy revolution? And Nigeria is not going to be an island. Of course, those experiences cannot be wholesale transferred to Nigeria. There are different geographies, different cultures, different people, different experiences. But that's not to say it would not work. Now, a team studied the Indian experiment, and by the time they came back in the early 90s, they set up Milkopal in Kaduna. Today, Milkopal is still alive. They have a processing plant, and they are also running a cooperative system. Actually, my farm in Zaidi Farms in Kaduna was also supplying milk to Milkopal. And I set up a cooperative of pastoralists in 2019. I'm still the chairman of that cooperative near my farm. They are supplying almost about 300 to 400 liters of milk every day, and they get paid weekly. And a lot of transformation in terms of capacity building has happened. Only yesterday, okay, let me say, yes, only on Saturday, we gave them an improved breeding bull to cross their local mama cows. And that has happened. That is the third attempt we are doing. We've given other members located in other clusters. So the cooperative system is also gaining ground. And you have listened to Friesland Campina. When we talk about backward integration, it has to be done under a cooperative framework. These people are clustered. They have an association with an executive member, with a constitution, with a bank account. They are registered, and that is the easiest way to monitor and develop their capacity. It's actually happening. In Ala, under Kaduna State government, there is what you call Damau Household Milk Project. It is also coming up. Ideal in Jos, Farm Fresh in Jos is actually also doing that. And this is what we think will now transform the dairy space in this country. Individual producers, yes, if you have 10, 15, 30, 40 milkers, you are on your own. But to have these small producers, we believe the best way to quickly change the behavior, change the mindset, and then aggregate. It's about aggregation. The whole idea today is not that we don't have milk in this country. Our challenge has been the aggregation of that milk. Because like we said earlier on, there are challenges in infrastructural development. Therefore, if we cannot aggregate all the milk in point A on a daily basis, you can imagine a woman carrying 2 liters every day, trekking 10 kilometers to 10 kilometers from. How much can she do? The whole idea today is, look, identify these producers, and they are like 100, 80, 90 of them, where they are, cluster them, put up a cooling tank where they are, then meet them where they are and beef up their capacity. How do they build their capacity? There are several ways. Number one, you are talking about the milk. Hygienic milking, hygienic milk collection, and then safe collection area. It's either you preserve the milk or you immediately transfer it with a chill wagon. Number two, improve on the feeding regime of the animals. The farm residue that we neglect today on all over the countryside, they are veritable feed sources for the animals. Aggregate them, conserve them, compound them, put additives. We have taught them to do that. Number three, talk about breed improvement. You can do artificial insemination or give them an improved breeding bull. They can see the bull there, do live servicing, and then you can now begin to leapfrog the genetic content of those animals. So this is happening all over the place. And in every producer you're talking about today, we are talking about clustering the producers, the local producers, into cooperative farms. It will be easier for you to access loans. It will be easier for you to build capacity. It will be easier for you to monitor the development and see how people are making progress. And then it's also easier for you to aggregate all the milk in that area, rather than allowing 10, 20 women with calabashes moving into the city. By the time they arrive, if it rains, forget about that milk for that day. And how much are they going to get from that? So, but once you aggregate that milk, an off-taker will off-take the milk, process it. Those who want to do further, don't wait for the milkmaid. Get the packaged yogurt. Get your fura, mix it, and you're home and dry.
Do you know that's what I take? Good. I take the yogurt and I put the fura there and I mix it. Yes. And I'm good to go.
Yeah, you're good to go.
You're good to go. So this is what we're advocating. Right. This is the journey we're embarking on, to make sure that these cooperatives are founded all over the place. And then they are clustered, we recognize them, we register them, and when interventions come, then we know how to intervene. Or otherwise, we cluster them around a processor. And that is the way to go. In fact, there are certain communities, cooperatives today, that have also been able to go into the next stage of buying a processing, a yogurt making plant. They are doing 500 liters, they are processing 500 liters, and they turn around to buy the yogurt themselves.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Before we went on that short break, Mr. Oriari was speaking on the value addition, and you were yet to conclude on your thoughts there. Maybe you quickly finish what you were talking about, so that before I will
we have some messages.
We have all messages, but then maybe you could just quickly finish.
I was just trying to mention that there are various ways of using the milk, and one of it is to use it as yogurt, Greek yogurt or drinking yogurt, and those ones always have life culture in them. The life culture helps to the gut, because of the it helps the gut, because of the probiotic that is in there. So we can also use it for fura. Fura de nono, just like the Honorable Minister have mentioned. We have cheese, we have butter, and there are small processing equipment. We don't have to make it big. Okay. That's what we tell all our small dairy farmers, that especially the women in the villages and the rural areas, that this can be done by them as well. They can make it into cheese, of course they have this capability before. They have the local cheese that they do, but rather than there are small machines that people can use to do these value additions for milk products.
All right, Mrs. Ogusaya, you also want to add to that before we take our questions, the questions from our viewers.
Okay, I think my comment was more along what was mentioned earlier in terms of full cream milk. You were asking, sometimes you hear about full cream. So I can just briefly take us through the 3 types of milk that we typically have. We have the full cream milk. Now this milk contains, the natural animal fats, the protein, the calcium, vitamin B12, and the essential nutrients. Then we have the fat-filled milk. What this means is that a small percentage of the animal fat has been replaced with vegetable fat. And vegetable fat is a little bit cheaper, of course, than animal fat. That's why you're able to afford, there are more affordable alternatives. If you can't afford full cream, vegetable fat-filled milk would typically be cheaper. Then you have the skimmed milk. That means that all the fat has been taken out. So, I'm part of the Weight Watchers, I'm watching my weight, I'm watching my cholesterol, this is an alternative for you. However, growing children, it's very important that they take full cream milk because it gives them the essential nutrients they need. Now, when we talk about dairy creamers, now this is a version, a product that contains some ingredients. It has a little bit less than half of the protein levels. So I'll give you an example. Full cream milk contains about 24 grams of protein, and a dairy creamer contains about 10 grams of protein. Now these are also guide from NAFDAC. So you have a little bit of protein, you have a little bit of calcium, B12, and the like. So that's still an alternative if you don't want milk for some reason, you just want it for your tea. That's something you can add to your tea, your coffee, and you're good to go. However, we now have the non-dairy creamers. Now this is where the issue really comes in and why we have this Choose Milk campaign. Non-dairy creamers is basically a whitener. It doesn't contain any protein. It doesn't contain any calcium. It doesn't contain nutrients. It contains sugar. It contains corn flour. It contains coloring. And that's it. So that is where we need to do the consumer education. So I just wanted to set that so we understand the categories that play in the market.
Okay, let me go straight to the questions, contributions from our guests so that you also respond to them. He said to improve dairy production in Nigeria and ensure vulnerable children benefit, we must address the gap between local farming capabilities and nutritional access. Said, why does Nigeria spend over 1.3 billion naira annually on dairy imports when we have a vast cattle population? So how can government effectively reduce this reliance on imported powdered milk by boosting local processing and packaging infrastructure? What strategies can ensure a consistent supply of feed and fodder to mitigate seasonal fluctuations in milk? And he said, what policies are in place to establish organized, centralized fresh milk collection centers and reliable cold chain facilities in major producing regions? I believe the minister has responded to that. So how can we migrate nomadic pastoralist communities into the formal commercial dairy value chain? And how can stakeholders better capitalize on the themes of World Milk Day to attract private investors into the sector? Thanks to the guest for your service. Have a happy World Milk Day and God bless Nigeria. That's Nandam Weyep from Jos.
From Jos.
Another one said, he didn't put his name, he said, wow, you guys have gone a long way in milk production in Nigeria. I am impressed. Honorable Minister.
All right, maybe before you let me just add this one. I have just one here. He said, I have a cow farm in Delta State. I want to sell my cow milk. How do I reach out to the company buying milk? All right, okay.
I think Freedom Campaigner is closer to Delta. And if you'll be interested, maybe you can give him the link to explore those opportunities. And I think these are the kind of people we want to encourage to get into dairy production. What people always imagine is that you can't go into dairy until you have 30, 40, 2,000 cows. No. The idea here to this is going to be scientifically driven. It's about genetics. Yeah. If you have one mama cow that can give you 20 liters a day, you are home and dry. You can even sell that milk on your street. Yes, and you can have daily income from that cow. And in fact, apart from getting daily income from that milk, you can aggregate the manure. Each mama cow, depending on breed type and age or size, will give you 30 kilograms of manure every day. You can aggregate that, preserve it, and sell it to the farmer, or take it to your own farm. So the cow is very versatile. So we want to encourage people like this guy from Delta State or Edo State who has 1 or 2 cows. And these cows are docile, particularly the modern type. They are docile, they are not aggressive. Even small children can take care of them. And if you can we can multiply that on a street. In fact, you can invite an off-taker who will now say, look, I have 30 people in each of these houses. There are 1 or 2 cows. And at the end of the day, I am getting 200 liters from that street every day of fresh milk. Their cost of input is very low. The entry level is also very cheap. You just need a mama cow. And this is what we also want to encourage, like companies like Farm Fresh in Jos, to start looking at possibilities of seeding women and youths with some of these high-degree, high-performing cows. Rather than to have a large expanse of land with pasture, tractor, is good. It generates employment. But additionally, you can also rely on these outgrow farmers to supply you milk. 200 liters, 300 liters, 400 liters, a van will be going around and collecting this milk and be paying people to their account. And how do they get the feed? You create an ecosystem. Train some boys to grow pasture just on the outskirts of the city. They bale them 10 kg, 5 kg, and then you just put an order. My mama cow is required 20 kg in 3 days. They just supply it and drop it to, just like you can buy your own rice or gari or anything. They supply it to the house. How about health services? You get someone, HND, BSc, veterinary or whatever it is, to start coming out to do what? To examine your cow, deworm it. If there are lacerations, if there are certain medicaments, they treat the cow and you pay them. So that is how to create, and that is actually the Indian model. That is the model you find in many other countries. Okay. And that is what we are going to replicate in this country, to make sure that we get people who are interested in doing it, particularly women who are staying in the houses. There is this motherly ability to care for, and the women can do it. And we believe this is one way again of improving, opening up the space for more people to participate. That's what we're talking about, the woman dairy farmer.
All right.
That is very, very important.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You want to say something before we ask one question?
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. I think one of the...
but in 1 minute, anyway.
Okay, one of the major, issues that anybody can think about when you are talking about dairy is uptake. So, and I can tell you that we as a business, Frisan Campina, we can guarantee uptake, anywhere. So data is just a stone throw. Okay. And I can tell you that we have signed MOU with a lot of players in dairy value chain. Quite a lot of them are approaching us for uptake, and which we are actually guaranteeing the uptake. For the lack of the demand, actually spoke about uptake from data sets. So let him reach out to us.
All right.
How does he reach out to you?
So I will drop my contact. So then you can go to our website.
Yes.
So you can also go to our website. He's going to see our contact there, and you can just send an email to our email address. Then you can reach out.
All right. So your website or your email address. Okay, fine. The World Milk Day. The takeaway now, let's look at the takeaway from this discussion. If viewers want to remember one message about women farmers and sustainable nutrition from this panel, from this discussion, what should that be? let's start from you. Then we'll just go to then the minister will round it up for us.
Yeah, for me, it is about the health benefit of milk and encouraging every Nigerian to start taking milk in different forms that we have discussed.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Our milk per capita consumption in Nigeria is very low compared to the global, per capita consumption per liter. For instance, for Nigeria, it's just about 8 liters thereabout. WHO set 210, liters per day per cow annually. You can see the gap. So we need to encourage people to drink more milk, because by drinking more milk, milk has a lot of benefits, and also I think we also have a lot of, efforts to put in place in terms of dairy value chain. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. What advice do you have for women going into this business who have interest in going into this business in just 30 seconds?
Okay, I would say we strongly believe in the future of Nigerian dairy, and we are here as Ala Foods. We are here to support. We'll continue to share our knowledge, share our expertise, and we will continue to empower women so that they can flourish in the sector, and we will continue to nourish Nigeria. Thank you.
Your Honourable Minister, sir, your, takeaway from this discussion for our viewers.
Once again, thank you for being part of this conversation. We in the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development are bent on creating the necessary environment for this country to be self-sufficient in dairy and dairy products. We are not happy the amount of money this country is spending on importation of dairy. We have the space, the market, and the political resolve to turn things around so that Nigeria becomes self-sufficient in dairy. From the discussions, remember, real milk is not cheap. Cheap milk is not real. Be advised and buy the real thing.
Okay.
Real milk is not cheap, and cheap milk is not real.
It's not real. On that note, Honorable Minister of Livestock Development, E.D. Mukhtar Meha, as always, we appreciate you for coming, and out of your busy schedule, you always find time to come to us so that we talk about, issues pertaining to your ministry. We appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. Mrs. Elele Ogunsayan, she is the Senior Corporate Affairs and Communications Manager at Ala Food. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We hope you keep encouraging more women. If I have cows, I will just come and join you and make money.
Please do. Thank you.
And Mr. Babatunde Adedokun, Head Dairy Development, Friesland, Campina, Wamco, Nigeria PLC. We appreciate you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Joel Ariori, Executive Director, Integrated Dairies Limited. He joined us here also in the studio. We thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We appreciate you. Thank you for your time. On behalf of the production crew, I am Jumo Yusuf.
And I am Ademola Adioye. And don't forget the word of the minister. Real milk is not cheap, and cheap milk is not real. Have a lovely day.